Hello, everyone. Charles Watts here. Welcome back to Inside Arsenal. The first game of the season is out of the way, and 3 points are safely secured in the bag for Arsenal. Well, that was not a fun game to watch. That was not a good performance. We will get that out of the way first of all. But 3 points are 3 points. It's 3 points at Old Trafford as well, which, let's face it, over the last 20 years or so, that has not been an easy thing to do when it comes to Arsenal. So we'll take that all day long. We're going to talk about that. I'll do a brief sort of my immediate reaction to what we've seen at Old Trafford today in this show, go through my immediate player ratings as well. I will, of course, look at things in a lot more in depth in tomorrow's show. You want to get involved in that, then you know what to do. Get down into the comments, leave your thoughts, leave your comments on what you saw today. Disagree with me, agree with me in what I've had to say, and I'll pull some of those together as always and get them included in the show. I'm recording this before Mikel Arteta has been speaking, so we'll go over what Mikel had to say in tomorrow's show as well. But look, 3 points, as I said, are 3 points, and this is at Old Trafford. This is as bad as Man United have been, as bad as a sort of laughing stock they've been. This is still Old Trafford, where Arsenal have found things very, very difficult over the years. This is the first game of the season. United have spent a lot of money. The crowd are up. You could hear the atmosphere. This was never going to be an easy game for Arsenal. To walk away with it for 3 points, especially given the start to the season Arsenal have got, was hugely important. So this is a very good result, a brilliant result. It's made even better by the performance, because the performance was pretty shoddy, let's face it. So to come away with 3 points, you can't really complain with that. There's an awful lot that needs to improve on performance-wise if Arsenal are going to get through these next 5 or 6 games, which are incredibly tricky, and be in a good position. But, they kept a clean sheet again. I'm not quite sure how they did that in the first half, because they were unusually sloppy at the back, and Saliba and Gabriel looked like they'd just met each other rather than being the best centre-back partnership in world football, arguably. They were much better in the second half. It was sort of normal service resumed in the second half. And to be fair, as much as United was still the better side second half, they didn't really create too much. And Bowen had that one header that David Raya saved. But other than that, I thought Arsenal looked a lot calmer in the second half defensively they did in the first half. But first half, it was just a really weird performance, I thought, from Arsenal. Didn't start great. Got the goal, obviously, relatively early on. Set piece, Declan Rice doing what Declan Rice does. Such a good delivery, putting it right under the crossbar. Horrifically bad goalkeeping by the Manchester United goalkeeper. So weak. I've just been laughing at Roy Keane, listening to what he had to say on it. But he's right. It was really weak. When you got one keeper at one end in David Raya, who's so good when it comes to those sort of scenarios, when a ball comes in around the 6-yard box, of being aggressive, punching away, you had the absolute opposite in what the Manchester United goalkeeper was doing, and complaining about a foul. There's no foul there. It's just really weak goalkeeping and pretty poor defending as well, I thought, from the United defenders in and around it. But it was a brilliant ball from Rice. I do wonder if that would have gone down as an own goal had Calafiori not nodded that in. Would that have been Rice's goal direct from a corner, or would it have been an own goal? I don't know, because the keeper did get a touch, but Rice's corner was going in. So I don't know how that would have gone. But, Calafiori on the line sort of made sure that argument was null and void, and it was great for him. And you thought at that point, okay, you've not had the best of first sort of 10 minutes. You get yourselves in front, settle into this game now, confidence by the goal, have a good performance, go on, try and get yourselves 2 up by half-time, seize control of the game. It just didn't happen. I really expected Arsenal to dominate this game in the midfield with Zubimendi, Rice and Odegaard. I think United probably did, and fair play, maybe you have to tactically give a sort of nod to Ruben Amorim, because the way United played, especially in that first half, they cut out the midfield completely. It was as soon as they got the ball, they were just pinging it wide. The sort of long diagonal pass that Arsenal played really well last weekend in the Athletic game. United were doing that and pinging it out to Mbeumo, who was sort of going one-on-one with the defender, and they were just bypassing the midfield. And I imagine that was probably a tactic, because they felt that if it became a midfield game, that Arsenal would control things in that area. And that just meant that sort of Zubimendi and Rice, that partnership that worked so well last weekend, it was never really given an opportunity to work today. And as a result, it was just really, really sloppy. It was kind of end to end, but Arsenal created about 3 or 4 really good opportunities on the counter-attack in that first half. And their decision-making was so poor. I'm trying to think off the top of my head, like Odegaard did it about twice. I think there might have been Saka as well, when they'd got through the midfield and they had sort of 3-on-3 or 4-on-4 on the United defence. And it was just about picking the right pass. every single time. They didn't even get a shot away at the end of these attacks. There was 3 or 4 occasions where you felt you've got a really good opportunity to score it, and they didn't even get a shot away because the decision making was just off. And I think that was kind of, it summed up the whole performance. I thought from Arsenal, it was just really sloppy. I mean, I suppose you could say it was classic first game of the season type performance where everyone's still adjusting to things. And I'm very aware, I don't want to be too downbeat on this, because look, this is a really good result, fantastic result. But you just know that you're going to have to improve a lot performance-wise if you're going to continue to pick up points. Second half, I thought, was slightly better. I think just because defensively, in the first half, Arsenal looked really nervy. Gabriel, Saliba, as I said, they didn't look like a partnership that we've all known. There were sort of miscuing clearances and things like that were happening. Second half, it was miles better. Those two were great. They completely basically snuffed out United when they did go forward. Saliba made some great clearances at the end. They just looked a lot calmer. So David Raya was good behind him. I thought Calafiori for 60 minutes as he was on the pitch was decent. Ben White at times, I thought, in the first half, looked like the only player playing with a bit of composure in an attacking sense. But United were definitely trying to isolate Arsenal's fullbacks in those games. But he stood up to it relatively well. And the second half, I think, for Arsenal was all about just seeing the game out. Having the lead, I think they knew they weren't playing great going forward. And so it was just all about seeing out the lead. And they did that ultimately. And again, they did it relatively unscathed. You had that one cross that came in and Mbeumo had the header that David Raya saved. Looked brilliant in sort of real time. But when you look at the replay, it was a save he should have definitely made. There was one clearance right towards the end when a ball came in, took a slight deflection. It looked like it was, in and around the 6-yard box, could have fallen to a United player, but Saliba really cleared it, did very, very well. Other than that, United didn't really offer too much. Sesko came on, didn't really offer too much at all. So as the performance was grinding me down a bit, every time they kept giving the ball away, they'd go forward, give the ball away, go forward, give the ball away. No one was kind of making those right decisions. That was frustrating me. But then I also felt defensively, I was feeling a lot more confident in that second half that they were going to see the game out and at least, go back with 3 points, or at the very worst, a point. But they got all 3, and that's fantastic. I'm over the moon to be starting the season with a win at Old Trafford. It just does not happen very often when it comes to Arsenal to win at that place. No matter how bad United have been, they still managed to find a way. Like last season, they played really well. I don't think they were great today. United, listening to the commentary, they're all talking about this new dawn at Manchester United and this great new dawn performance-wise. I don't think they were particularly great. I thought Cunha had some nice touches, but Arsenal played really, really badly, and they still won at Old Trafford, and they still kept a clean sheet at Old Trafford. So I don't think United looks maybe as good as some people seem to be saying that they did. So yeah, 1-0, take the win. Definite improvement needed performance-wise going forward from here, but a win's a win, especially at Old Trafford. And so yeah, happy with that. I'm going to go through some player ratings now. Okay, so David Raya got man of the match on Sky. He made a good save in the first half from, I think it was Cunha, that sort of low shot that was going towards the far post, and he got his fingertips to it. He made a good save. I'm not sure if it was actually going in or not. The angle didn't sort of show if it was, but it was a good save. And the one from Mbeumo in the second half was good. I'm not sure he did enough to get man of the match, David Raya. I have to say, I thought Saliba and Gabriel in that second half were absolutely excellent. But I still gave David Raya, I gave Raya an 8. I gave White a 7. I gave Saliba and Gabriel an 8. Now, if you'd asked me for the ratings at half time, those ratings would have been very, very different. But I just thought in that second half, in the real moments that mattered, those two stepped up and did what they had to do to make sure Arsenal came away with all 3 points. I thought they were really, really good in that second half, the pair of them. And you could see at the end, that it was just like those two were back. Saw in the celebrations. I mean, you can see on the screen if you're watching on YouTube the pictures. It just looked like those two are back. Sort of dusted the cobwebs off a little bit in the first half, and they were back. So I gave those two an 8. I gave Calafiori a 7. Zubimendi and Rice, like I said, I really thought they were going to dominate this game in midfield, but just never really got a foothold in it. They did some okay things individually, especially Zubimendi. I didn't think Rice had a great game by any means. So I gave Zubimendi a 6. I gave Rice a 5, which I feel maybe is a little bit harsh. Maybe he should have been a 6 if Zubimendi is. He did set up the goal, of course, but I gave him a 5. I gave Odegaard a 7. Now, I think a lot of people are going to disagree with this because I saw Odegaard coming in for a bit of stick, as always, on social media, and he did make some really poor decisions, especially in the first half, when Arsenal got through and had those breakaway chances. Odegaard took the wrong decision, or sort of seemed to be stuck in two minds about whether to go to Saka or whether to play the ball to Gyökeres. And in the end, on one occasion, he chose neither and lost the ball. But I thought overall, his overall performance was decent. Odegaard, I thought of all the midfielders, he was the one who was constantly showing for the ball. He was winning possession. He was jinking past his men at times, drawing fouls. Not his best game by any means, but I thought he shut out of Zubimendi, Rice and Odegaard. He was the best of the three. So I gave him a 7. I gave Saka a 6. He was just absolutely doubled up on an awful lot of the time. He continued to work the way he always does, but just got absolutely no joy really out of that. I gave him a 6. I gave Gyökeres a 5. It was a tough day for Gyökeres. He got absolutely no service really in the first half. No one could find him in the midfield. Weren't finding him. He was making some runs, wasn't found. Could just see it was getting to him a bit. I think there was that bit of play in the end of the first half when he got down the right hand side and then just smacked the cross out of play for a throw on near the corner flag. The one part that was really frustrating was in the second half when he finally did get played in down the channel and he had his fullback. He had the fullback one-on-one, and you're like, go on, attack here. And he just sort of stepped on the ball and fell over, much to the delight of the Manchester United fans who were booing him the whole game. But I think at that point, I think he could tell that he just wasn't in the game and his frustration was growing. So it was a tough first start in the Premier League for Gyökeres. Feeding off scraps the entire day. He'll get better, I've no doubt about that. And I'm looking forward to seeing what he has to do against Leeds next week. But I gave him a 5. I gave Martinelli a 5 as well. Again, like Odegaard a couple of times in that first half when he just chose the wrong option when going through. Just never really in the game. Defensively, he was fine. And I thought the difference when Madueke came on and the difference between him and Martinelli defensively was very, very apparent. And I felt much more confident defensively in the work that Martinelli was doing than I did with Madueke. But I gave him a 5. The subs who came on, the only one I'm really going to mark was Timber. I thought Timber was great when he came on down the right-hand side. I gave him a 7 as a sort of substitute appearance. The rest of them, Madueke, as I said, never really in a game in attacking sense. Arsenal had fallen back and were just protecting their lead at that point. But defensively, players got around him pretty easily. I think he's going to have to improve on that. Havertz worked really tirelessly when he did come on leading the line, won a few free kicks and everything. I thought Lewis Skelly looked off the pace when he came on. Marino came on right at the end as well. So Timber was the only one that I really marked from a sort of ratings point of view from the substitutes. But I think I'm going to give my man of the match. I think I'm going to give it to Saliba. I think out of the two, like I said, that would have been very different at half time. But I just thought that performance from the two centre backs in the second half was absolutely essential to Arsenal winning this game. And I thought that, especially that last 20 minutes, I thought Saliba was very, very good. But they both were. And David Raya was as well. You could have tossed a coin. I'm sure lots of people will give man of the match to Raya. Some will give it to Gabriel. But I think I'll probably just about give it to Saliba. Did some good things in the second half. So that's it. That's my reaction. That's my ratings. It's a win. It's a start of the season. It's a successful start to the season. 3 points in the bag. Old Trafford tick out the way for the rest of the season. 1-0 to the Arsenal. That's a scoreline we love. And it's 3 points that we love as well. Not the performance that we love, but only ways up in that regards. Thanks for watching, everyone. Thanks for listening. Like I said, reply to this. Give me your thoughts on the game. I'll pull something together, as always, in tomorrow's show. Take it easy, everyone. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. Speak to you soon. Bye-bye.